All right, we are on the air. Welcome everybody. This is the Stunt Hanger Hangout or Stunt Out. We're going to have a Stunt Out next weekend, and I am Rusty, a member of Stunt Hanger who does the show, hosts it for Sparky, and welcome. We are here on Friday night again, April 27th, 427. That's Rat Motor Day. How many people knew that? Um, Hey, we had three big holidays in April. We had April Fool's Day. We had Friday, April the 13th. And now today's Rat Motor Day for all of you hot rod Chevy guys out there. Will know what I'm talking about. Looks like we got 2 YouTube viewers already. So feel free to post something. The chat box is up. The links are posted to the At the Bench thread in Stunt Hanger. Guess you probably knew that, or if you want to get into the live video, you need to know that. Got to be a member of Stunt Hanger to get into there. You only have to be a subscriber to the YouTube Stunt Hanger channel to get in the chat box. And got 5 viewers. They're piling in. All right. Well, we'll be here for the next 3 hours or so, and we'll talk about aeromodeling or whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's got something to do with tools, fun, workshops, racetracks, lakes, fishing boats, or anything else. 7 viewers. Man, I hope some people pile into the video like that pretty quick. And Bob Bishop. Hey, Bob, working here as usual. Where do you work, Bob? I know you seem to always be working and can't get on except for in bits and pieces, fits and starts. So, what do you do? I imagine you sitting at a desk and picking up the phone and having to run off from the show and then come back in a little while, but I don't really know. And so another mystery of having internet friends. A lot's left to the imagination, but that's what's great about this hobby is you get to meet a lot of them, where with other types of internet forums you don't. But we have contests and fly-ins and that sort of thing, so we do get to see each other in our native elements once in a while. Got 9 viewers. Man, it's piling in tonight. It's going to be a good Friday night, I hope. Got a lot to talk about. Oh, we will. Anybody that wants to start a conversation on the YouTube side, feel free to post what you're thinking about or what you've been doing in your shop or in the field or at work, Bob. So I'll sit here and wait. And tech support, like computer tech, people call you on the phone asking questions about why their computer doesn't work. Hey, Minnesota Mike. Oh man, yeah, we've been missing you. I'm glad you're here with us because you've been either ill or busy, and I prefer busy. So hope things are going good for you. Minnesota Mike is a race car builder and driver. He's got some badass machines too, motorcycles too. Not rocket, but nitro bikes. Those are some awesome machines that you will never ever see me sitting on one with my finger on the trigger. I might sit on it if it's not running, but it takes balls of steel to strap your legs around one of those things and pull the trigger. But here we are. And Kevin McElroy, good day, Kevin. Going good so far, Mike says. That's good. All right. Bob Bishop is tech support and part-time and hanging out here with us the other part of the time. So we'll just sit here and wait for somebody to, specialized, yeah, computer related. That's Bob Bishop, what he does. And I used to know a lot about computers because back in the late 80s, early 90s, to keep up in my industry, I was in the office machines industry in a tech department. I was a master technician and then a trainer, and started a nationwide training program working with Canon USA. And So I had to teach people how to fix computers and not operate them so much as fix them, the hardware. And so I finally figured out that to be good with computers, it almost has to be a part-time hobby at least, because if not, you'll never get the hang of it. And some people fight them and curse them and never can get them to work. And the problem is that computers are so versatile. There's 1,000 ways to do any one thing, and so every time you ask a question, you get a different answer from a different person, because everybody does things differently. And the thing that makes computers so convenient makes it maddening for those that don't take the time to make it a hobby of exploring and playing and learning. Anyway, I don't know why I got off on that, but just commenting on Bob's job. And Gerald, hey, Gerald, glad to see you're in here with us. I got a laugh out of your email to me today. I hope you got one back out of mine. And I hope you can join us live in here soon. Maybe one of the boys and will join you tonight. And Gerald's got more airplanes in his shop than just about anybody else on here, except maybe, I don't know, Mike Leinke. He's got a lot of them in his shop. He takes us on good tours of the shop. Oh, I see, Gerald, I didn't see you posted about 427 Day. Hope to join you soon on Chevy 427 Day. Okay, we'll wait here for you, Gerald. Yes, sir, Rat Motor Day. That's what we call the 427. I guess probably the mouse motor came first. That would be the Z28302, I suppose, which could come screaming off the showroom floor at upwards of 9,000 RPMs. A little old short stroke motors, and they could really turn some revs up. So you could run it way up, dump the clutch on that, and disappear over the sunset. Muffleroy says, been building his own home PC since 2000. So it's an ongoing project, huh? Proprietary PC loaded with junk you do not need, no doubt. My son always preferred to build his own computers. And, you know, back in the 90s, especially the early 90s, getting a decent computer, you had to build it yourself. You went out and you bought a motherboard, and you bought IDE boards and video boards, and everything was on a PC board that plugged into the motherboard, and you just cherry picked what you wanted in a PC. Then you had to set interrupts and all that kind of maddening stuff. Nowadays, with plug and play, which is old news now, is so much easier to work with. Good evening, Sparky.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, not much. Just talking to the YouTube guys. We got about 10 of them over there, and some of them are going to join us shortly, I hope. But right now it's just you and me.
I hear an echo.
I'm not getting an echo here.
Huh.
No, nothing here. You still hearing it?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what's up.
Well, I'm on a tablet.
Tablets and phones introduce funny problems that are not easy to troubleshoot sometimes.
Well, I got the tablet for my Osmo. I'm trying to get it worked out, so just I'm going to go back to my other camera because I don't want to hold this thing in front of my face, but I'll be back.
Okay.
See you in a bit.
Okay. And meanwhile, I'll just sit here and continue blathering into the ether. And let's see, Gerald says, thanks for the email, Rusty. My wife appreciated your view. Yeah, good. Glad somebody does. First mouse was the little 265 V8 back in 1955. Did they call it the mouse motor back then? I was always thinking the 283 or the 302. My first car was given to me for
Huh.
Christmas at age 16, and it was a
Thing off.
1967 Chevy 2 Nova, and it had a 283 and a 2-speed power glide, which actually can be beefed up to be a good racing engine, but for the street, it's a hunk of junk. And we always used the term slip and slide with power glide. What am I hearing in the background? Is that Sparky trying to get back in?
No, I'm trying to get off.
Oh.
How's that?
That's fine on audio. Don't have any video on you.
Yeah, well, I can't get it shut off for some reason.
Time to power the machine down and start back if you haven't done that already.
Oh, man. What a piece of crap. Still there?
I'm still here, yeah. Just a moment of dead air. Trying to think up the next thing to talk about. Sometimes
I can't figure out how to stop this.
well, click the little square box on your home row at the bottom, and all your apps will pop up, and hit clear all, and then reboot the machine, and then reboot the tablet, and when it comes back, you'll have a fresh start. And then just follow the link without opening Google Hangouts, if that's possible.
I'll see you in a bit.
Okay, good luck. Sparky's fighting with a tablet. That's what happens with phones and tablets. They're just a pain in the ass to work with. And we got 13 viewers on YouTube now. Thanks, guys. I appreciate all of y'all over there. If y'all, I'll take this opportunity, as long as I'm talking, to remind everybody that we've got a little donation box. If you'll click on that $sign at the bottom of the YouTube, that helps us with the server fees and the equipment that Sparky needs, and me too, if we ever have to upgrade from Google Hangouts, and you know, things like that to just keep us going. And hell, it keeps us motivated too. I've done, except for when I've been sick or absent for holiday like Christmas, I think for the past year I've done 2 shows a week every week for the entire year. So that's you know, over 100 shows without missing any. So and I enjoy doing it. It's fun. And you know, we went through some rough patches, but we've pretty much got that ironed out, I think. And we're clipping right along here with a good little show. So I hope we're able to keep on doing it for a long time. You still got, Gerald, you still got a 283 you know, 1960 Bel Air in the carport. The 60 Bel Air, that's the one with the wings that they turned out at a kind of a, well, it didn't really have the big wings. It was the first really wingless year, but it still had chrome and the shape that implied wings on the tail end of it. That's a good looking car. And they only made that generation for 1 year, I think, or maybe 61. And after that, they came out with the boxy Bel Airs and Impalas and Novas too. I never figured out when Chevy 2 and Nova parted in the badging or what it meant. And Minnesota Mike, bubble top. I'm not sure what you mean by bubble top. I hadn't heard that term. Is that what the 283 is called? Or is that what the 60 Bel Air is called? That must be what the 60 Bel Air is called. One of those with a Muncie 4-speed and a small block engine was a great cruising machine. You look better now, Sparky. Let's see how you hear.
Yeah, but for some reason, echoing.
I am not getting an echo on this end. I am now. Now I see you, and you got 2 icons. You're on double, Sparky.
Well, boot that one out.
The one that says stunt, or no, the one else. Okay, yeah, the one next to where your picture is. I'll eject that. There it goes. Okay. Now, I bet we don't have an echo anymore.
I bet we do. Oh, maybe not.
No, I'm not hearing it on this end. I hear a little something going on, but it's not imposing. We're sitting here talking about cars, early 60s Chevys and that stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, the horizontal fins, that's the right word for it. Similar to the 59, but more squared up and smaller fins too. Yeah. Bubble top was the coupe. Okay.
that's coupe.
Coupe. Oh, coupe. Okay. That's better than comb over. But yeah, those were fun cars. Drop the top and ride around the drive-in soda shop, around and around and around with all the other cars.
I'm getting my hair back.
You get, oh, are you?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Rubbing Rogaine on there or something?
No, I just quit cutting it.
I cut all mine off. Not all of it, but it ain't going down my back anymore. See? So I got tired of it because it was getting all in my face and being a nuisance and taking me 10 extra minutes to get out of the shower and where I was going. So this is
Going all, I can bring my clippers. I'll let you use them.
yeah. No, I don't want that. I don't want a butch cut. But anyway, I just got it neatened up, is what you would call it.
I get ready to cut my beard into a mustache. Probably do that tomorrow.
You had the whole beard cut off for a little while back there, a month or so ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a real long goatee.
Yeah, that's right. You had the ZZ Top one there for a while.
Yeah, I'm going to cut it into a Fu Manchu.
I can't grow a decent beard. Mine's just not thick enough. I guess it might. I've just never let it grow out long enough to try. And it used to be blonde, reddish blonde. The rest of my hair was brown.
Now it's gray.
Now it's all gray. It's silver. It almost looked, well, it did not too long ago. Almost looked blonde from a distance, kind of like Dale Barry's. But his is grayer now, more like mine is. But mine was almost as long as Dale's. But I think he had cut his a little shorter last time I saw him. I reckon I'll be seeing that family pretty soon up here next week. They usually come to both contests. Hope so.
Well, I'm kind of excited for Huntersville.
Triple Tree.
Triple Tree.
Yeah. Are you going to come for the whole Joe Knoll week?
We'll only be there 4 days.
Yeah. So you'll be there for the stunt clinic and judging clinic too, I suppose. That's on Thursday. So yeah, you'll be there.
I think we're going to get there Thursday.
That makes Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't know when you have to leave. Do you have to leave on Saturday, or can you sleep over and leave Sunday?
I have no clue.
You coming with the same fellow that you came with last year?
Yeah, that's my boss.
Well, if you break down, I hope you break down in front of the appropriate shop again. Last year, you broke the transmission in front of a transmission shop, so that was convenient. But I hope y'all have an uneventful trip this time.
That was $3,000 worth.
Wow. I just got my aircraft carry out of the shop today. I had a fender bender a couple of Fridays ago on Friday the 13th. So, yeah, when I signed on tonight, I mentioned, along with today being April 27th, Rat Motor Day, 4/27, that we had 3 big holidays in April: April Fool's Day and Friday the 13th, which was a terrible day for me. And then Rat Motor Day, that's got to be a good day. So I figured since we had so many drag racers in here, they'd know what I was talking about. Some of you guys on YouTube, pop on over here and let's see your ugly mugs in person.
I had an L88 in my 34 Ford.
A Chevy motor?
Yeah.
A lot of people put Chevy motors in their Fords.
That was a 10-second car.
Ah, that's pretty good. I never got mine below the low 12s, and that was just shade tree production in the backyard on minimal budget with minimal tools and no help. But it was pretty good. It was just a 350 Chevy with a Muncie 4-speed and a 456 rear end. No, a 513 rear end.
I ran 20s. I think I could have got down in the high 9s with today's technology, you know.
Yeah.
But
What, with turbos or nitro? Is that what you mean by today's technology?
no, I had more horsepower than needed. LED8 wrap motor, 210 4500 Dominators on a program. It was, you know, it was well built. 513 gears, but better way to transfer the power to the ground. I don't think I could have used any more power. It just would spin the tires.
Yeah. That 513 was a little ridiculous for mine because I probably wasn't making but 425 horsepower, if that much. And yeah, I'd bust them loose, taking off out of the tree. But I was a pretty good driver. I was always able to cut a good green light, and I was bracket racing, and so that was that worked good for me. I never could get into the pro stock. I just didn't have the money to go to what we called pro stock back then. I don't know what they call it now. Pro mods or whatever. Like the stuff they drive on Street Outlaws. That's some badass stuff. I mean, we got driving a car. That Mustang drives, the Fireball Mustang's got 5,500 horsepower. That's just absurd.
Pro mod is a funny car. Alcohol.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, they call some of their modified street cars pro mods, but they're built on tube chassis, you know, full roll cages and all that. But they're what they call pro mods are not funny cars. But this is TV reality show, so I don't know what's for real and what's not. And they're not really racing in an NHRA sanctioned class either. They're just out there street racing or no prep racing.
Talking about the 405?
Yeah, that's right. Those Oklahoma guys.
Yeah, you get the farm truck. That's the good that's the good one.
Yeah, I like that. That's a big old heavy thing, but he's got about an 800 cubic inch engine in that truck.
That Volkswagen, that dung beetle is pretty badass too. When I was running at Irwindale, there was all kind of 10-second VWs. Unbelievable.
Yeah. One of the first times I ever drag raced. In fact, it was my first time at the drag strip. Now, we ran quarter miles back then, but I pulled up to the tree and looked over, and I was sitting next to a VW Beetle, like a 1963 VW Beetle. It looked like somebody had been using it for a fishing car. And I looked over and laughed, and I was sitting in my big Camaro with a snorkel on the hood and, you know, smoking the tires and blowing smoke. And when the light turned green, that motherfucker was down at the other end of the track, cooling down before I even hit third gear. And so I learned my lesson then. Lightweight and big motors go a long way. So he probably had a Porsche engine in it or something like that. I don't know what he had in it. Those Vegas with big block Chevys in them were pretty badass too.
Yeah. I like playing with the drag bikes more than I like the cars. But
Yeah.
I had that was a street car that I ran tens with,
Yeah.
34 5-window coupe.
Now that drag bike will run faster than any street car, won't it?
I ran sevens, high sevens with it.
Yeah.
131-inch shovel head.
Is it, why have they switched to eighth mile now? Is it just because they go so fast?
Coletta. When Coletta got killed, Scott Coletta got killed. They ran so fast they cut the track down.
Yeah.
It's more than eighth mile though. I think it's instead of 1440, it's 1,000 feet.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
But they're still going 300 miles an hour.
They are. Yeah. But man, it's hard to stick them down and go from A to B. You know, when you're putting that much power on the ground. Because I remember going out to the Darlington Dragway and watching quarter milers from the finish line. I got down at the finish line and watched them, and they were almost like they were boats floating on the water going down the track like that. And it was scary.
Those cars put out upwards of 8,000 horsepower. They bring them to the line, they're running on one magneto. They turn on the fuel pump that pumps, I don't know, 600 gallon a minute or whatever the hell it is. A top fuel car will burn 15 gallon in a quarter mile.
Yeah.
But they switch on the second mag, and that's when you can hear, you can really feel the power on the ground. And they run in a hydraulic lock. So if there's, just on the edge of a hydraulic lock, that's how much fuel's going through it. And drag racing is that if you count the number of RPM from the time the light goes green till the end of the drag strip, how many revolutions do you think the motor does?
Well, you divide it out about what do they turn? 14,000 RPMs.
The engine turns 300 RPM.
300 RPMs.
Turns around 300 times.
Oh, for the entire run?
Yeah. Let me see how many RPMs in a top fuel.
That doesn't quite work out in my head.
I know.
I mean, when you lock down the torque converter and that engine's spooling up to say 10,000 RPMs, it's going to be running for 4 seconds. 10,000 RPMs for 4 seconds.
Okay, here we go. Oh, I was wrong. It turns 712 RPM in a quarter mile.
Okay, I'll have to think on that one.
It says, as stated, it turns 9,500 RPM. If the engine takes loose and it runs 9,500, over the whole course, it'll turn 712 revolutions. Fuel engines in any way are RPM limited. Slow combustion, nitro reasons is why the high flame is to blame. RPMs very seldom go over 8,000 in a race.
Yeah.
They begin to call the hit and the starting line about 7,200. Then the clutch catches up. And matter of fact, those centrifugal clutches weld themselves together by the end of the run. You hear another slight drop in RPM at mid-track when the clutch discs lock up. That's what I'm talking about. Then the engine will again accelerate to the finish at about 8,000 RPM. At the current performance levels, the actual total times the engine turns over during a run on the 1,000-foot track, so I was right, at 8,000 RPM would be close to 500 times. Therefore, each cylinder fires 250 times per run. Seems like a $75,000 engine could do, could do that, but a lot of times they can't. That's right.
I didn't realize they used centrifugal clutches. I thought they were hydraulic. torque
No,
converter.
it's a weighted clutch.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, it expands out when
It
the RPMs go up. And
The guy who operates the clutch is an important part of the team. He puts weights on those fingers, and as the engine runs, it locks up and it welds itself to the pressure plate. It's amazing.
Yeah, no shit. What an operation.
High-tech machines.
Yeah. And they've all, do they shift gears? They're not bolted straight to the drive shaft, are they? They probably go through 2 gears.
Oh, well, I think some of them do have 2 gears, but it's basically an in and out setup. You know, direct drive. My drag bike was direct drive. What are they saying over there on YouTube?
They're talking drag racing. Minnesota Mike's talking about, well, they got all kinds of stuff going on. They're still talking about magnetos, clutches. Minnesota Mike has the engine, the flying brick. I don't know what he's talking about. That might be, I don't know. But anyway, Jamie Holford came in and said he's not going to be able to join us tonight. But yeah, they're going along with us. They're moving too fast for me to keep up with, but they're talking drag racing too. What about aeromodeling? Anybody been doing any airplane building, flying, crashing this week?
Got my big ball.
Did you put anything in the air this week?
No, supposed to go Sunday. I don't. If Jerry said 9 o'clock and it's supposed to be like 40 degrees, if it's 40 degrees, I ain't going.
I like afternoon flying once daylight saving kicks in. Get out there at your leisure, you know, after lunch and fly until dusk. And
daylight saving's already kicked in.
me and Wayne get out there sometimes about 3 in the afternoon, and then by then the wind starts settling down and the thermals lighten up. So we got so many thermals coming through at our place so much that it's nice to get there later and the wind quits changing directions.
You never been to the Nats, have you?
Never have, no.
We fly till 9 o'clock at night.
Really? Under lights, I guess.
No, it's light out.
Oh, is it? Well, I guess it's where you are in the time zone, yeah.
And then, of course, Bandrop will whip out his jet and fly after dark.
Yeah, that's always fun to watch. I've only seen it on YouTube, though. I think at one time he was flying them at Huntersville, but somebody disallowed it.
Oh, yeah, the city.
Yeah.
The parks department, but they're on the dump. They're afraid it's going to blow up. The methane gas coming off the dump, they're afraid that it's going to catch on fire.
Kevin McElroy broke the elevator horn in his Stragler. I guess that must be a combination, Strega and Nobler, huh? That's a hell of a combination. That's like a Dachshund and a Labrador Retriever, which makes one funny looking dog. And that's a hell of a combination. That's like a Dachshund and a Labrador Retriever, which makes one funny looking dog. And that's a hell of a combination. That's like a Dachshund and a Labrador Retriever. Parky disappeared. That's like Dachshund and a Labrador Retriever. Parky's back. He disappeared. I'll let y'all sort this feedback out. Parky's back. He disappeared. Let me see who it is.
There we go.
Yeah, that's because I muted Gerald.
Yeah.
Now I unmuted Gerald. Okay, feedback's gone.
Like, I think I got myself all tangled up there for a second. Sorry, I had YouTube going in the background.
That's all right. Happens to everybody.
Oh,
Well,
hello,
what's going on with
Rusty.
you, Daryl?
I did my hand and on one of my models.
Oh,
Yeah, I took a good chunk out with my Fox fork.
oh, we got Alf.
Oh, hello, Al.
How you doing? I'm trying to laptop this time. So am I coming in okay? I see.
Yeah, your audio's good. Your video is dark, so you need some light in your face. But other than that, it's all good.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. There's not that much light in this room.
You got to face the light. If you face the light, then we can see you.
Face the light.
Yeah.
Fine.
The computer, put it in front of the light.
Don't go into the light.
Yeah, but I don't have nowhere to sit.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Charles Carter, good evening, buddy.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Good to see you.
From another mother.
Yes, what's up, Sparky?
What's happening, man?
Oh, just getting ready for this contest tomorrow.
How far you got to drive?
It's about an hour and a half,
That's not too bad.
or hour, almost 2 hours actually.
Where are you going?
2 hours. Wood and Arrows, your old stomping grounds.
All right.
Okay.
Who you gonna be up against?
What was it got, Rusty?
I said, who you got to beat tomorrow?
I have no idea. I know Dennis is going to be there. A gentleman named David Riggs. I'm hoping that Gary Gingrich is there. The guy that won the Southwestern Region, I hope he shows up. I don't know, but I'm not in the best shape I've ever been in as far as my playing and stuff. I went back to the Stalker 81 as of today. I had put up 5 short tank kind of flights to kind of shake out the prop I want to use, and did a little trimming on it. But I haven't done a pattern in, a competitive pattern in almost a month. As far as short tank, you're trying to get that K-77 to work.
Yeah.
Never.
Well, will you have enough time for a practice flight or two when you get there?
Yeah, so I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna try to leave here around 5 in the morning. So if I get there at 7, the POTS meeting will be at 8 o'clock, so I can maybe get some practice in.
Does the contest start Saturday?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So tomorrow's just practice day. All right. Well, good luck. I hope everything goes good and shakes out for you.
Yeah, I hope so too.
If I remember right, Charles, you get off on Garvey, right?
I get off on Rosemead.
That's right. It is Rosemead. And then, is that fence still there? There was a kind of a crappy, like a barbed wire fence that you drive along by the parking lot. As you're looking at the freeway. You're coming in, looking at the freeway up there, and on the right is the field. Is that fence still to the right?
Yeah, there's still a fence there. Yeah, that's kind of when you go on that dirt road. If you turn off yeah, there's still that fence there.
Right. It's only been 40-some years since I've been there.
Y'all get a load of this. Kevin McElroy not only has a straggler, he also has a thing master.
Well, I saw his straggler last week, and it's a neat looking plane. It reminds me of a T-Rex. So instead of having the turtle deck like a Nobler does, he cut that off and put a bubble canopy on it. But then the front reminds me of a T-Rex. So it's an interesting plane.
The professor's at the window. I gotta go let him in. Be right back.
I might get the ring bat done this weekend.
What was that, Sparky?
I might get my ring bat done this weekend.
Your ring back?
Yeah. You didn't see it?
No, I didn't see it. It's just stuck together. Ah. Very cool.
Yeah, looks neat.
For a G2135. That's one of the eggs.
Right.
Come on in, Spec.
You're using that for slow combat?
At 100 miles an hour. G21 will run 100 mile an hour better.
That's fast combat.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Gerald, and hi, Al.
How you doing, Charles?
Charles?
Doing well.
That's what I used to play with when I was in the Navy.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I figured I'd just make another one.
No, we used to use those. We had like slow combat back in the 70s.
Right. Flight
Yeah.
Streak.
Yeah, Flight Streak or Ringmaster with a Fox 36X on them.
30. They ran Sterling Mustangs, Messerschmitts, Cobra. What else? Yeah, I did all that too. But my guy I used to fly against, he had a Johnson, and I ran a Super Tiger on mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had our first combat contest about a month ago in March.
I don't even know if I can fly combat anymore. I got 5 crews there and a ring bat.
I'm sure you can fly a combat plane. You just fly in a combat match, though. That's a whole new challenge.
Mm.
Well, the speed limit's a lot different than kill combat.
Yeah.
Because if you get in a if you both get in a line tangle and you go down, you'll lose your 200 bonus points. Or if you get in a midair, you'll lose 200 bonus points.
Yeah.
Clean match
Mike
points.
Leinke gave us a synopsis on combat rules one night, and it's a lot more complicated than I ever imagined. There's a lot of rules to combat.
Well, the rules that we fly here, they call it Roy's rules, Roy Glenn. That's what most places fly. It's and Phil Cartier fly. That it's 100 points per cut, and it's a 5-minute match. You get a point for every second. And then if you have a clean match where no mid-airs or no line tangles, where anybody loses a plane, you can get in a line tangle and fly out of it. Then, so if you have a clean match, you get an extra 200 points. So that's like
this. How do you fly out of a line tangle when you can't switch hands?
You just reverse the direction. Where the guys, the way you go in it. When you tangle up, you got to watch which way the planes, are spinning around each other, and then you just got to reverse it.
Yeah.
Fly out of it. Just start making big loops around each other, and it works. Believe it or not, I've been in line tangles. I'm starting to get the hang of getting out of them.
Bob Bishop wants ask Sparky if he remembers Hy Johnson from Sepulveda Basin.
It sounds familiar. Sepulveda Basin.
I didn't know how you said it, but that's okay.
Yeah, we used to fly at Sepulveda, Santa Anita, and Whittier.
Yeah,
It's all in the same area.
Yeah, within 100 miles.
Yeah, close enough.
Los Angeles area is pretty big.
Yes. So, but the problem with starting out in combat is just losing a plane behind your head and stuff like that, and just putting it in the ground. So it's just as best to fly with somebody. If you're going to fly at Brodak, they'll probably end up putting you up with somebody that'll fly with you, help you out a little bit, get you used to it.
Yeah.
Because you got to overcome not only flying your airplane, but with an opponent in the circle with you, you tend to get dizzier faster and stuff. Lose your equilibrium, standing and stuff after the match gets heated and stuff.
I'm old, but I ain't dead. I'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be fine, Sparky.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed
George Gonzalez says hi to everybody. Did George, did you ever get into Stunthangar with your confirmation? I asked you on email once, but I never got an answer back. Do you remember if he ever got in, Sparky? I know we swapped a PM about it a couple of weeks ago, but didn't know if he ever succeeded or not.
Now, let me make a statement here. If you're trying to get on Stunthangar and you want to get registered, it's first name, space, last name. If without a space, you're not getting in. It's got to be first name, space, last name.
That might be something that tied George up, because I think he was doing just one string of characters for his name.
The reason I do that is all these computer bots can't do a space. It's first name, and then it'll be underscore, and then last name. And if you do that, you're not getting in. It's first name, space, last name.
Okay, George, be sure, and if you hadn't gotten in yet, try that and let me know. That way me and Sparky can communicate about it. I can let him know, because he gets so many people trying to join, you could possibly get lost in the shuffle. So if you let me know, I can let him know specifically there's somebody that wants to join and be with us.
Or if you're an email contact with him, just get his name and email address, and I'll register for him, whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
And it'll send him a password, a temporary password.
I'll do that. If he hadn't gotten in to Stunthangar yet, I'll do that, because I got his contact info.
Because I'm not trying to keep anybody out, but I am keeping all spammers out.
Yeah. And I know that if you guys try to join with a Gmail address, sometimes that looks a little dubious, because a lot of spammers use Gmail addresses. And you can get in, but like I said, let me know so I can tell Sparky, if he hadn't ever heard of you, that this is a good guy.
I wrote an email to one guy. If you type in the word Joe Bellcrank all in one line, you ain't getting in. If you type in Joe space Bellcrank, you might get in, you know. But if I get 25 Joe Bellcranks, you ain't getting in. I get about anywhere from let's say 75 to 200 people joining every day.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's good.
Most of them are spam accounts. And if you notice on Stunthangar, we don't have any spam, it's because I run such a tight ship.
I was going to say, where'd those control line flyers, where are they all coming from?
Yeah.
75 to 100 a day.
They're trying to sell Viagra,
Yeah, right.
Botox, and I get a lot of toxes.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you get genuine flyers joining the? Are we still bringing in more people?
What's that?
Are we still bringing in more people? Are there still genuine flyers joining Stunthangar though in reasonable numbers?
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of them.
Probably anywhere between 3 to 5 a week, probably.
Yeah.
People that I go ahead and confirm.
That's a good steady pace.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm going to take off. I'll report back Monday, and I'll talk to you guys later. All right?
Okay, Charles.
Okay. Good luck with the contest.
Be safe. Yeah, be safe on your drive, and good luck.
All right. Thanks, you guys. See ya.
Hey, yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm going to go flying tomorrow. It's supposed to be nice here in the morning tomorrow. The light winds.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to have nice weather all week. And I'll be loading up Thursday night for the Friday morning drive to Huntersville, and I hopefully won't break a leg while I'm loading the car this time.
Right.
This is the butthole of the world. This is right where they're going to stick the enema tube when the earth gets, when the world gets an enema. It's unbelievable, the weather here.
Where are you, Sparky? Where you at?
Dayton.
Oh.
Terrible weather.
They still make electric motors in Dayton.
I guess they make all kind of crap. Transmissions, motors.
industrial city.
Tomorrow, Saturday is going to be nice, but Sunday is going to be too windy. It's going to be winds over 10 miles an hour, 10 to 15 Sunday. But tomorrow, everything is supposed to be under 10. So that's
Seems like out at the flying field in the wide open space, the wind is always faster than what they are claiming and predicting. But as long as it's steady, you know, I can deal with a, 10-mile-an-hour wind's fine. But when it gets up over, 15, it starts getting kind of hairy on those pullouts.
Yeah, when we were flying combat a month ago, the winds were getting close to 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, but it don't affect combat planes.
Oh, it was the gusts were affecting us a little bit, when you chase it. But yeah, it's flyable, but it's the plane goes into the wind and it like stops, it stalls, and then you come out of the wind. It's like it hit the nitrous button, it takes off like a rocket, but it adds a little bit more challenge to the match. It was pretty good. We had a good time, but it was cold too. It was like 31 degrees.
You guys can have that. I ain't getting out there when it's that cold. I was telling Jerry, I said, when we were kids, we'd be out there 25 degrees. Yeah, I know. But I'm getting out there now at 25.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, the sun was out, there was no clouds. The sun was out, so it was bearable. But then once the clouds start going in, we packed, we finished up quick and, called it a day. No. But all in all, it was good. It was a good time. We had eight contestants, so it was pretty good.
I'm going to hit it too. I'm really tired.
Oh, okay. Oh well. Good to see you. I'm Sparky. And
okay.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week, Sparky.
Yeah. If these weren't on so late at night, I could stay awake for some, but during the week, no way.
What time is it where you are right now? It's 10:32.
Yeah, same as you. But I'll be asleep by 11.
Okay. I wish I could go to bed that early. I'm up until 2 o'clock in the morning, even when I got to get up at 4.
This is my routine. Get up at 5 o'clock, go to work at 6, or be at work by 7. But I'm out of here, 6:30 or whatever. I get off at 4:30. I come home, take a nap, get up, eat dinner, stay awake till 10:30, go to sleep. That's it. I do it over and over and over again.
So you have a full day?
really good.
You have a full day work tomorrow, Saturday?
No work tomorrow, but that doesn't mean I'm not tired.
Okay. Yeah, I work every other Saturdays. So this is I have tomorrow off, so that's why I figure I'd tune in and see what you guys are up to.
Yeah, well, I just, I feel bad that I can't stay on at night, but it's just too much.
We had talked about getting a moderator to run a little bit earlier show, but I don't know any earlier, and people are still at work when we start.
The problem is now Hangout's going to go away.
Oh.
I don't know when that's supposed to happen, but it was supposed to happen this month, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what they said, April, and they never did say a date for sure. But end of April's coming up this weekend, so Monday is April 30th. So we'll see if we're still here after that.
Oh, really? So they're cutting down this format of video chatting?
Yeah, they don't want
to into strictly business meetings and stuff like that, and I think it might turn into a paid service.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know if they're going to leave us hanging with nothing to help out or not, but we'll figure something out.
Oh, we got another spot.
We do. I don't like it as much as this one. We got, the YouTubers are unlimited, and we can still have a reasonable number of video chatters. Any more than we can handle here on the video side would get confusing, but whatever, we'll figure something out. But anyway, sleep tight, Sparky, and we'll see you Monday.
All right, guys. Good night.
Good.
Good night.
Right.
See ya.
Yeah.
All
You tried
right.
one of the Hobby King props?
Oh, that's a big old prop.
Yeah, I just got from Hobby King. I don't know what they're like. It's sort of unbranded, typical Hobby King, but it was the size I wanted, 13.4 for my Fox Hawk, and they seem to work well.
Let me see the tips of it.
They're fairly.
Is that like a APC copy or?
A little like an APC.
Yeah, similar to an APC, but they're a little bit more flexible than an APC.
Yeah.
I was using it on my Fox Hawk. That was the one that cut my hand, but my son launched it twice, and each time he launched it towards the ground, so it hit the ground and didn't break the prop twice, and it still seemed okay to go, and we got it clear of the ground on the third flight. But so they seem to be quite strong.
How's the weight compared to an APC?
Very similar weight. I can't, apart from being black and having slightly different tips, it does seem very similar.
Yeah.
And they had a fairly good range of sizes. Goes after a low pitch prop for my Hawk, let it spin up a bit faster and slow the plane down. And the 13.4 worked really well on it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the blade width is too wide though. I mean,
everything's narrow these days.
It looks pretty narrow.
Yeah, if you compare it to an APC, if I can find one, they're very similar.
I like running the wide blade APCs. They, for the stunt planes.
Oh, well, here's an APC here, or you can see how they compare.
Yeah,
they're very similar.
Yeah, they are.
It's different though. Yeah.
The hubs, very similar. The center of the hub.
Yeah, the hubs. Yeah, the hubs look pretty close.
Yeah, the highest, biggest area where the pitch is actually a factor seems like it's wider on the black prop at one place in the middle, and the APC is more spread out through the length of the blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to perform well, but I've only tried the one prop, so I can't really talk. But I've enjoyed using those other master air screw ones, the ones that are a bit of a crossover. Their new master air screw, this type has been quite good for me too. And they come with a reasonable range of sizes.
What's that, a scimitar?
It's a master air screw. They're, what do they call it? Yeah, scimitar shaped master air screw.
Right, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, they seem to be
like a racing one or whatever. Yeah,
I always assumed that those were more suited for RC, but I don't know. I know for half A, master air screw is my go-to prop because I can cut them down to whatever size I want. But for the bigger planes, they kind of fall on their face with the master air screw, and it might just be because I need to be going to a higher pitch.
Yeah, well, master air screw, from what I used to measure props in the pitch on the pitch gauge and all that stuff, and master air screws are lighter pitched than what they say they are.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
Like a 5 pitch in a master air screw would be something like a 4 pitch in an APC. Something like similar like that.
Yeah. Well, I found that using the 11.5, it's more like using an 11.4 APC, which has worked well because the 11.5 is easier to get than an 11.4. But yeah, they seem a lot better than the old. That's the old square-tipped master air screw.
Right.
They do a lot better than that.
That's the old F series, or that's the K series, I guess.
Yeah,
that's right.
And the other thing I found when I was looking around, these funny little nuts. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but they've got like a little shoulder on them.
Yeah,
an additional bit of thread. And if you match it with the right washer, then you've got a little bit more prop shaft length to
it's like a barrel nut.
Yeah, I can't remember what they called them, like a clevis nut or something they called it in the shop. But just that little bit of extra length that they've got on them means you can use a 5/16 or a 1/4x28. It's the 1/4x28, and it gives you that little bit more shaft length. If you're running to run a motor that's got a little bit short shaft, like a lot of the Foxes and some of the Enias, the shaft's a little bit short, but most of the Enias are all a metric thread, and
which hole in the prop do y'all use to center the prop on the shaft? The front hole or the back hole? The
depends
front
on
one is usually the one that is the smallest, and so if you want to use the back hole, you have to ream it out. But I heard the back hole is the one that's the most accurate.
Yeah, well, the APC have all got a huge hole in the front. They've got that massive hole in the front that you can stick your finger in. So you have to see it
backwards. Okay, yeah, it's the back one. It's the smaller one.
Right. Yeah. You're supposed to reference off the bigger hole if you're trying
That's
to.
what I thought. Yeah. So ream that back one out and then balance and center it on the front hole.
Yeah. Because in the old days, like a lot of the old like that Tornado, they had the big hole on the front of the Tornado, so you'd have to reference off the back. But yeah, the Tornado, they're pretty terrible now by comparison to more modern prop. They just make a lot of noise and it seems like there's not a lot of efficiency there, but they're good for the kids. When they smack them in the ground, they bounce back each time.
Yeah.
And we used to use them on our slow combat models. 8x6 was the standard prop on our diesels for combat on the PAW 19. And 8x6 was a good combination.
Well, back in the 60s, that's what Larry used to use. He used to use the 8.8 Tornado prop. Larry Scrinzi on a Super Satan to do, like 125 miles an hour. And we're, my friends and I were trying to duplicate his accomplishments, with the modern day props. So we were, and we were successful, but so we wanted to see how good was his 8.8 prop, that Tornado compared to the APC 8.8 that we're using. But we didn't want to put it because, they're old, they're, like,
yeah, I've got one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're 40 years old. And so what we did, we put them on our Fox speed plane, like, with a Fox 35 Stunt on it, and it's a little plane. Yeah. And the 8.8 Tornado prop performed just as well as the APC prop.
Wow.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Same fuel, we had to adjust the needle a little bit, but it performed, just as good. So, that prop's a good design. And some other guy, I think there was a combat guy that sold a lot of stuff, George Cleveland, and he used to sell fiberglass copies of that 8.8 prop, which of the 8.6, the same prop but it's 6-pitched, and it's a really good prop,
Yeah, but they changed at some point and they went to a very soft material on the newer ones.
Yeah, not the white one, the yellow ones. Yeah. But even the older ones, the yellow ones, they have the small hub and then they had the wide hub. They moved to the wider hub. But he used to modify the drive washer on the engine so it wouldn't cut into the back of the prop. So he was having a problem throwing the blades, and then he used to have to take the grooves off the drive washer, where it bites into the prop, right where the blade was.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So it would the prop would survive. I think he used to boil them in water too. The Tornadoes to make.
Yeah, you were supposed to do that new.
But they said
people will find old ones and thinking they can reboil them now and bring them back to life is a dangerous myth.
Yeah, right. But and by the same thing, you're not supposed to ever boil an APC.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, that prop performed. We were surprised. We were with our stopwatches and everything. That prop really performed well. So.
How about the old top flight props? Did you ever try those?
No, we didn't. I mean, I used to fly them when I was a kid, but no, I didn't. We never. We didn't compare those against anything. But we were just going because, like, Larry he belongs to our club, and he's still around, and he's telling us about his setup and stuff. So we say, well, let's test that prop, see how good it is compared, because we're buying master air screws, APCs, everything, rev ups. We're trying everything to see, because we're racing that Fox speed plane. We're trying to get the fastest speed we can out of it, and turned out that Tornado 88 is a good prop.
Yeah,
But
that's really interesting. So there must be a lot of hype between having the latest technology, and there isn't necessarily a lot of extra performance and practice.
Yeah.
I'll just go and open the door. My wife's come home with the two boys. They've been out shopping while I've been on Stunthangar, so I'll just be back in a minute.
Okay.
So I heard you before, while I was signing on, I heard you guys talking about drag racing a little bit.
Yeah, we kind of kicked it off tonight talking about drag racing, because today is April 27th, 4/27, so I deemed it to be Rat Motor Day.
Oh, okay. Yep.
As opposed to Mouse Motor Day.
Right.
And actually, over on the YouTube side, we had a pretty lively discussion going on. There were 4 or 5 guys in there talking about drag racing.
Yeah.
It was going by so fast I couldn't keep up with it.
Oh, wow. Really? Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple cars. I haven't raced them in a while, but I still got the cars.
I hadn't had my own since 1980 or 81, but back in the 90s, early to mid 90s, I was racing a friend's car. He had a newer generation Camaro that was pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
It would run in the mid 11s. I could always get high 11s out of it. He could always make that car go faster than I could, but being somebody else's car, I was reluctant to power shift it. In other words,
Right.
slamming the gears without lifting off the gas, which I do to my own car, but I don't really want to do that to somebody else's car.
Yeah,
that's a good way to lunch. That's a good way to lunch it. So, but anyway, yeah, that was the fastest car I've ever driven. It was one that I was getting like 1160s, 1170s out of it in the quarter mile.
And that's a street car?
It was street legal.
Legal. Yeah. That's quick for a street car, yeah.
Yeah. He worked at a speed shop and had resources, and he was also rich too. That helped.
Yeah, right.
Millions of dollars as a computer scientist.
Okay. Must have had a big block in it to go that fast.
No, I think he had a small block in it. I think it was I don't know how many liters, probably around a 350 or so.
Okay.
You'd think, but he'd taken a lot of weight out of that car too. He'd stripped a lot out of the interior, and underneath he had put high performance suspension in it, all of which is a lot lighter than the factory production stuff.
And it was a Chevy?
It was a Chevy, yeah. With I think it had a 6-speed transmission, probably the factory transmission.
Okay.
Hey, Otto.
Hi.
How's it going tonight?
Been out shopping with Mum.
Yeah.
Did y'all buy anything for your dad while you were out there?
Yeah.
Macy's. Oh, the sweet that I used to like as a kid. The smokers. Yeah.
What are those, fizzle when you put them in your mouth or something?
Yeah, a bit like that. Yeah. Sort of old-fashioned style sweet. These are made in New Zealand.
I'm sitting here eating sweet tarts right now. I love those.
They didn't forget me. They bought a few treats back and some cat food for the cats. All the normal stuff. But yeah, we're supposed to fly tomorrow, but our weather's deteriorated. It's very wet around here.
It's just rain and more.
Yeah, they were going to have a contest down in Rotorua, but they had to call it off. and we were just glad we didn't actually book the hotel, because it would have looked a bit stupid if we had booked a couple of days into a hotel and they'd cancelled the contest. But it gets to that time of the year where the weather's unstable, and you really make a big risk when you book yourself in early for a contest in winter, really.
You don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah, you're at the mercy of Mother Nature. We've got about 3 or 4 inches of rain here this week, but it's all come at night and surprised us in the morning when the rain gauges are full. And but during the day, it's been beautiful. We've just had thunderstorms come at night.
You know, you made the field, Otto, last weekend. You made
Yeah.
you made both flying fields, and it was all good before the rain came anyway.
Well, there's one thing that I did find when I was mowing. It was a bit muddier than last time.
Yeah, to be expected.
Gerald, are you in a club? You belong to a club out where you live?
Yeah, I'm actually the secretary treasurer of Auckland Free Flight Club, and we're a mix of free flight and control line flyers. We're in Auckland, New Zealand, and we've got a fairly strong interest in control line and free flight in New Zealand, but it's spread out. It's a lot of people fly outside of Auckland, so our actual club's only small. We only have really a dozen members.
Oh, that's good. How many guys go out to fly usually when you go to fly?
It's normally me, my 2 sons, and my wife, and then maybe 2 or 3 other people will turn up when we have a flying session. And that's because we tend to be broken up and fragmented. Auckland's quite large, probably a bit like a city like Los Angeles, where it's spread out, so you'll have people flying in different parts of the city as well. Some will prefer to go and fly in flying sites that are closer to them in the south of Auckland. We're actually north of Auckland, so we've got like an hour's drive to get to the flying site when we could fly at home, but it's just for the social side. We'll still drive south to fly with other flyers.
Right.
But if the weather's not great, then we'll try and sneak in a few flights during the week off one of our circles at home.
How far of a drive do you go to drive to meet the other flyers?
The other club flyers are about an hour's drive away, so it's not too bad. But if we want to fly with people north of us in Whangarei, it's like a 2.5 hour drive, or fly with people in Hamilton a little bit further south, it's like another 2.5 hour drive, 3 hour drive. So I suppose it's very similar probably for you and Rusty.
Yeah, I mean, we have about 4 guys that are consistent, you know, come out to fly stunt and stuff, and when we have a contest, we'll get about 8, you know, guys show up. But it's the core group is about, you know, 4 to 5 guys, you know, and then everybody drives probably from an hour or you know, or less. You know, it takes me about a half an hour to get to the flying field.
How far are y'all from the Philly Flyers?
Under an hour. You know, I've never been there. I meant to go there, but it's always, you know, conflicting dates, you know, between us and the Philly Flyers.
T-Bone Tom Luciano just checked in. And he advises us to listen to Al. He knows his engines. We know that. There's been a couple of nights when we were talking engines and saying, I sure wish Al would come in and answer this.
Yeah, Tom's he's a really good stunt flyer. He's got a real nice plane that he's been working on. But hopefully he shows up tomorrow.
You hear that, Tom? You better be there tomorrow.
Yeah, we have one of our friends, you know, calls everybody and tells we're going out and stuff. But you know, Tom's one of the working guys like me, and a lot of guys are retired. They can go out during the week. They meet up. But
I just got my car back today.
We have a good
work. I'd had a fender bender and had to get a new front driver's side quarter panel and door. And
you mean quarter panel in the rear or up in the front?
Front.
That's a fender.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, when I got it back, I noticed that the seams are not lined up. There's the door sticks out farther a little bit at the bottom than the B pillar, and it's lined up perfectly at the top, but there's almost an eighth of an inch difference where the hood and the fender line up. So I'm going to take it back to him, and I hope it's just loosening some bolts and shifting it around. I hope it doesn't involve cutting off welds and stuff.
What kind of vehicle is it? What is it?
It's a Santa Fe. It's 2011 Hyundai Santa Fe.
I mean, that the fender should fit on there pretty good, unless they used a cheap aftermarket fender. Then sometimes those things don't fit right, you know, no matter what you do.
Well, maybe that's what it is.
You know, did your insurance company approve the job?
Yeah, it was one of the shops that they approved. So I just dropped it off and picked it up, and they worked out all the details. And
well, yeah, look at the paperwork and see if it's an aftermarket fender.
I will.
And then complain to the insurance company about it, and then let them pay to put the original equipment one back on.
Yeah.
You know, because
that's about a $2,500 job if that clues you into anything. But I guess the different areas prices will be different too. So.
Oh, it's parts are. Did you have to do a headlight also?
No.
So it's just the fender in the door. You said B pillar. That's the A pillar where the.
Yeah. Well, where I see the misalignment is at the B pillar, but that means it's got to be misaligned at the A pillar too.
Was the door was damaged also?
Yeah. Yeah. The door in the seam is where the seam between the fender and the door is where it took the biggest brunt of the collision.
Well, then it sounds, you said the fender sticking out further than the door on the bottom. So either on that car, there's no adjustment on the hinges. So it might mean that the area where the lower hinge is, the A pillar might be in, bent in a little bit.
It could be.
Technician didn't pull it out, repair the cowl area. They go, you know, the A pillar or the cowl.
Functionally, I guess the most important thing is that the gaskets are sealing all the way around. So
well, that's on your door.
Yeah.
You know, you have to see that. Yeah. The best way, you know, get on the highway, roll up the windows and listen for air noise.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. So I haven't driven it except from the shop to the house today, which is about 6 blocks. So I'll give it a better look out this week and see what I think about it. I'm not all that worried about it, but if there's a functional problem, I do want to get that fixed.
Right. How's the color match?
Beautiful.
Good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And modern car paint is indestructible compared to what we had 20 years ago.
I'm not kidding. I've been doing this a long time, and you know, we used to use you know, the lacquer, which is basically like dope, and we'd have to put like 8 coats of clear on it and wet sand it out and then buff it. It'd take all day to buff a car out, you know. It's like really hard, a lot of work.
Yeah. It was a pretty bright sunny day when I picked it up, and it was sitting out in the middle of the parking lot, and I walked around and looked, and I can't see any difference in the color.
Well, that's the best way to pick it out is in the sun.
Yeah.
You know, if it looks good in the sun, then, you know, they did a real good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, the paints today are really, it's a lot, you know, a lot better to get a nice finish than the stuff that we used to deal with in the 80s.
Last couple of plane projects I've built, I've used Duplicolor Perfect Match acrylic lacquer colors, and I've been real happy with that. It dries as fast as you spray it on.
My friend used that, and that lays out real nice. And the colors, he used the white, and I couldn't believe how fast that white covered over the.
I used white too, red and white.
And it really laid out nice because I mixed up some paint, like one of the whitest white is like the Corvette white is a bright white.
Yeah.
And his Duplicolor white was just as bright. You know, we were painting the our Perky plane speed racers, and his Duplicolor, it looked really good. It looked actually, I thought it even looked better than my white car paint. You know.
Really?
Yeah.
I was impressed with it. I really like it. But I was buying the rattle cans and then putting one of those clamp on spray handles on top so you can sweep evenly back and forth. And it's got an adjustable nozzle and it puts out a knife edge triangular pattern that you can make vertical or horizontal. So that's all. That's convenient. And it's compatible with Brodak butyrate clear. So
oh, really? You can put the butyrate clear over it? Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
I did it on the test board aggressively, and it wasn't any problem at all.
Because the auto clear, you know, it looks beautiful, but it is heavy. It's really heavy. You know, no matter what you try, it really puts the weight on. You know, especially if you're doing a little plane, it's not too bad. But if you're doing a big plane, you know, it really adds up fast. You know,
mid-size planes, 46 size like that.
Yeah, we use auto clear on Otto's Hellcat, but we were cunning in the sense we just gave it one coat of clear before we put the finish on, and that was just to seal it. But it was his 2-day wonder. But it worked out really well in the sense that the whole finish on what was a 40 size model was 2 ounces. So we were happy with that at least anyway. But yeah, I know the auto clear, I've used a lot of it on different models. The only thing I found with some of the 2-pack is it hasn't held its color. It's faded badly. Did you find that with, maybe it's just cheaper 2-pack paint? Have you found that, Al, that some of the 2-pack aren't the same quality?
No, what do you mean as far as fading?
Yeah.
No, I mean, no, all the stuff I painted looked really good. But you know, when I do the glow engines, I put extra paint around the engine compartment and by the wing.
Me too. I'll even use luster coat up there sometimes.
And then I put, you know, try to put a light coat around the rest of the plane.
Yeah.
I did my friend's electric plane where I didn't have to worry about really, you know, putting a lot of paint on there for, you know, so the fuel doesn't soak into the plane, and that came out pretty good. I forgot we weighed everything and he was happy with the results. So, but I thinned the clear out and just put a very light coat of clear on just to get it to cover the paint, and then we called it quits, you know. But I painted planes that, you know, before I weighed anything, just went out and just try to make it, you know, really shiny and look good, and pick up the plane and go, holy mackerel, I put like 5 ounces on, you know.
It took me a long time to get the hang of putting paint on light, and it does make a huge difference. I never realized how much back in my early days of building, how much weight I was adding with that paint.
We have a product that's called Blender, and it's made to, you know, to thin out the clear when you're if you're trying to like if you're like painting an edge of a bumper or edge of a vehicle, and you want to use you don't want to paint clear the whole bumper, you just want to keep it small. So they have this blender that you mix in with the clear, and you can sort of like fade the clear in better, and that thins it out. So that's what I've been doing on the planes. I've been cutting it clear with blender.
Yeah.
You know, to get a lighter finish and a shiny finish. You know?
So is the blender just a slow drying thinner like retarder in the old acrylic days, or is blender a 2-pack product of its own?
No, it's some kind of reducer, I believe. You know, I actually don't really know what it is, but you know, it's made for thinning out the paint and drying and having a glossy finish when it dries. You know, when you're done with the blender, you only put like a light hand rub over that area. You don't, you know, really hit it hard with a buffer, like if you're trying to polish it up, like you do with other panels. So
do you add the blender to your clear in an equal proportion, or do you add the blender separately?
Yeah, it's like half and half. You know, it's half and half.
I'll go get the paperwork for my car. I'll be right back.
But yeah, like when you're painting an area and you're done with the clear, it sort of leaves like a thick edge. You know, you could see the edge where you stopped.
Yeah.
So you mix up half clear and half blender, and you go over that edge, and then it'll melt all that in and look shiny. Then it'll look like a shiny spot, like it's wet, like you put water on it. So
when it hits the dry paint, it helps dissolve into the dry paint, or does use acrylic lacquer, you could dissolve into the dry paint using a thinner to get that nice blend. But when using a 2-pet, you can't dissolve into the dried clear if you're going over a dry clear area.
Right.
So will the blender somehow
it
meld
bites into it better. You're still supposed to scuff the area, like you use like a Scotch-Brite pad, and you scuff the area, and you put the blender over that. But it just like melts it in, makes it shiny. So you just use like a light hand rub on it to bring up the gloss on the area, so you don't see it.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely ask about it, because I need to go back to the panel beading suppliers to get some more clear, because I've run out of 2-pack clear, and I've got a model that I repaired recently, and that would be an ideal way of blending my new clear over it where I've had to do repairs.
Right.
So yeah, that sounds
like on models, it seems like the auto clear is just like way too thick when you're putting it on. It's like maple syrup, sort of. Yeah. And when you cut it with blender, it makes it more sprayable, especially if you're using a little like I use a little touch-up gun. I don't use the same gun that I use on my car.
Yeah. I always use a touch-up. Yeah, I use a touch-up gun. My father was a spray painter. And I've done a lot of restoration work, but I normally go back to my father for tips on spray painting. But a lot of the technology's changed a lot since his days of spray painting acrylic lacquer.
Well, it's a lot easier to paint now. This stuff is way easier than when back in the days, because humidity doesn't bother this paint, and if you have a heat lamp, it's just so much more friendlier. Contaminants like wax or oil or any of that stuff. I remember back when I was spraying, like cars back with lacquer, the weather, it turned white, it blush on you. Then you have to put retarder on it, or you're painting the job, and all of a sudden you get fish eyes all over the place like crazy, for unknown reasons, But the paints today, the two-stage paints, base coat, clear coat paints, they lay out nice. I mean, you still have to be careful, but it's just so more user friendly. It sprays out nicer. It's more friendly with contaminants and stuff like that. But I heard the guys that are painting that water-based paint, I heard that stuff is like like going back to the old lacquers. It's it dies and it does all crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting to know too, because there are a lot of people saying water-based will be the way for the future, but maybe it's still got a bit more time developing before it will compete.
Yeah, and then the way it dries too, it dries by motion, so you have to have those special air dryers in the spray booth to move the air around. You're doing large quantities. It doesn't really dry with heat lamps like the other stuff. It dries by motion or something. That's what they said. Yeah, but I didn't invest, or that was going to be the big fad, and then all of a sudden it like disappeared. They were going to mandate it, and it was kind of ridiculous anyway, because it was only the color that was that they were using waterborne. You still use the same clears over the top of the water-based paint. So what do you think?
You haven't really
water-based clear.
That's interesting. Oh, this cat's getting to be a pain. I might take this cat out. He's putting his claws in and he's getting in the way. Here goes the cat.
I got the parts list here, Al. I got a couple of pages. It says front door. Well, on the back page it says supplier, 301 Auto Parts and 3302 Starburst. And
does it have A/N? It should say on the estimate like aftermarket.
No.
No. Look
It
at the
does not
fender.
say that anywhere.
If you look at the fender, you know, the line item for the fender by the part where the,
Yeah, it says 868-100W200.
oh, that sounds like a part number.
Yeah. And then the fender is 663-100W500.
So it sounds like they used original parts then. That's good.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, because it would say AM like or aftermarket.
Yeah, no, this doesn't say that anywhere on here.
Or how about look at the last page? Like it will say vendors. Who are the vendors?
Suppliers.
Suppliers. Yeah.
Yeah. 301 Auto Parts and 3302 Starburst.
Yeah, that doesn't sound. And what line item is on next to that? Is
8.
8.
Line 8.
Okay, go to line 8. And what part? What is that?
That is, let's see, 76. I believe that is the left fender.
Yeah.
Wait. No, that's the left door shell.
The left doors. Oh,
left door shell plus 25%.
Oh, so they put a used door on your car.
Oh.
Which is a good thing.
Says
LKQ
LT door shell.
Right, LKQ. LKQ. So they used a used door.
I see. Well, that might explain some of it.
Well, I mean, that's a good way to fix the car because when you buy a new door, it comes as a shell, and you got to swap over every nut and bolt, window regulator, channels, and everything. And as long as they get a good quality door that's never been hit before, that's a real good way to fix the car.
Okay.
Of course, if you get a door filled with body filler and stuff like that, then that's not a good,
Right. LKQ LT door shell plus 25%.
Right. Now, what's it say about the fender again? Go back to the fender. Does it have anything like that on it?
It just says replace left fender and then the part number.
Well, it sounds like you got an original fender.
Okay. Well, good. Maybe that'll make it easier for them to align.
That's a good way to fix, fix the car if they found a good door.
Yeah.
Especially if you find one the right color, then they don't have to paint the inside.
Yeah.
Or even paint it. But yeah.
Well, I think they painted the inside because it looks like new paint and all the stickers are gone that are inside the door.
Well, okay, they would have to take, because sometimes the serial numbers and stuff are there, but did they take the weather strip off when they painted it? Try to look at the weather strip on the door, just peel it back a little bit and
I'll take a look.
See if they did a tape job or
Yeah, I'll be able to tell that easy enough. Okay.
To make sure and check your window. You got power windows and your locks. Yeah. Your window goes all the way down and all the way up, and it closes right, lines up right.
Yeah, everything seems perfect that way.
Okay, good. I mean, that's the good thing about using a used door, especially on on those like Kias and stuff, because they're very repeatable. They're all the same. You take one off, you put it back on, and all your windows and everything's all factory set up. Where if you bought a door shell, the technician has to set in your glass and align it up. Do all the adjustments. And some of the stuff is really is challenging, especially when you get on the vans with the doors, when they have the doors that close automatically.
Yeah.
Oh man, what a nightmare. I mean, those things are unbelievable. When you take the trim panel off of one of those, you wouldn't believe all the stuff you see inside there. The power window regulators, and then the power door actuators that open and close it, and the sensors, all kinds of little wires.
The body labor was 9.6 hours at $422.
What would they pay per hour?
$44.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little higher here.
Yeah. Paint labor was 9 hours at $44 an hour.
Okay.
396 total. I think I did all right.
Yeah.
The whole grand total was $23.52.
Now, did somebody hit you, or you had to pay your?
Nah, somebody hit me.
Oh, so they. Okay. So you collected from their insurance company.
Actually, I collected from mine. I believe I believe her lights were off. It was dark. I never saw her. I turned right and she turned left, and we occupied the same space. However, I believe that she had an arrow on her side, and I never saw her. It was pitch dark in every direction. And when we collided, the first point of contact was at the front wheel well right over my wheel. The wheels didn't touch, but so she was far enough up where I should have seen her if she'd had her lights on, but I thought I'd hit a construction barrel or something, but I never saw anything until I heard a horn blow, and still didn't see another car until I pulled over into the grass median and looked behind me, and then there was a car behind me about 50 yards back with the lights on. So it was pitch black in every direction when we went bang, and I never did see her until after I had pulled over. Even when she was blowing her horn, I couldn't see where the horn was. It was that dark outside.
And she didn't have brakes on? Oh, jeez.
But nobody will, unless I want to go to court and try to argue that, I'm not going to. For $2,500, I don't know how much hers cost. It wasn't hurt as bad as mine.
Right.
I'm just going to call it. And
well, that's what you got insurance for. So you just basically pay your deductible, and they pay the rest.
I paid the $250 deductible, and I didn't even get a ticket.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, they might. Well, a lot of times, what happens with that situation when like you're both at fault, like they call it contributory negligence, and her insurance company pays for hers, and your insurance company pays for yours. But
there's a circle on the police report form that's got us listed side by side. Under mine, contributed to accident is circled, and yes, and on hers it's circled no. So I'm not going to get into lawyers and arguments though.
Yeah,
it ain't worth it. I doubt if it'll make my insurance go up very much. So, and I hadn't had a wreck that was my fault, and I don't even remember when. Well,
I got to cut out. My battery's about to die. It's
oh, okay.
I'm down to 9%, and I'm going to sign off anyway. I got to go. I'm going flying tomorrow. So
okay. Well, good luck flying. Gerald and I'll hold down the fort, and maybe we'll see you Monday.
Yep. Okay. It was nice checking in with you guys tonight.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Al. See you later.
Okay. Have a good night. See you, Gerald.
Okay. Good night, Al.
Yeah, good night.
Well, Gerald, I guess Friday nights everybody's too whipped after working all week to come in and join us.
Yeah. Well, Charles said he might come back on later. He might be busy having his dinner or something.
I hope so.
He's a bit earlier in the evening, isn't he? He's about 4 hours earlier in the day than you are.
Yeah, 3 hours actually, but still, yeah, that's a big difference. Yeah, 11:20 here. So that's 8:20 in California. Do y'all have is New Zealand split into more than one time zone?
It's a skinny, narrow country, sort of at a slight diagonal, so it's all one time zone. It makes it easy anyway. They sort of juggle all the islands in the South Pacific to sort of fit between different time zones. So
the lines get starting looking pretty squiggly out there. The longitudinal lines.
Yeah, there's a bit of a big time difference between us and Australia, but at least we're all in one zone. It's quite easy. It's quite a big difference in weather from the north to the south of the country. When we're having quite nice temperate weather down south, they've often got snow and hail and sleet, and it can be very different weather by the time you reach the bottom of the South Island. So we've got to be grateful. Most of our year's flyable. I suppose it's similar for you. Most of your year would be flyable too.
Yeah, it is. Do you live in a hilly, mountainous region, or do you live in a fairly flat region?
We're lucky. We're on the flat. There's hills surrounding us. We're in sort of a valley. It's it flows in towards the coast, so it sort of hills around the place, and then it flows out towards the coast, the Kuiper coast, and the whole of our property is pretty much dead flat.
We're just about where the coastal plain begins here in South Carolina too. It's hilly on the west side of town and flat on the east side of town. And that's kind of where the fall line is that divides the state right through the middle. And that's why we have a lot of rapids in our rivers in Columbia. We've got several rivers and some really world-class rapids.
Yeah, it's all flowing out to sea.
Yeah. And the stripers, we've got stripers that come all the way up from the ocean to Columbia. And we're 120 to 130 miles from the ocean.
So they're like some sort of a trout, I imagine.
Yeah, trout, salmon.
Yeah, we're supposed to have great weather, great fishing in the Kuiper where we live, but I'm no fisherman. I did enough of it as a kid, forced to do fishing, forced to go out fishing, that I decided I've had a gutful. I don't want to fish again.
What, did your dad make you go fishing?
Oh yeah, my dad and all my uncles drag us out fishing. And
they liked it, or is that because y'all had to eat?
Oh, it was really, they liked fishing, but then often when people say fishing, it means drinking, and you get dragged along because it's convenient to send all the boys out in the boat together, but you're not part of it really as a kid. So you're lumped with a fishing line and told to fish, but no, that put me off fishing enough as a kid. But I suppose I got into aeromodeling quite early on, and just building chuck gliders and enjoying building little rubber models. And as soon as I was old enough to start and fly a control line model, I was into that very early on, I suppose. And with the boys, they probably don't know how easy it is for them having somebody help them through it all, just as your son would have had it easy if you're able to help them. But for me, it was pretty much on the raw. My father didn't fly model planes. My mother was more help because she built kites as a kid. And so joining a club was a big part of it. Once you joined a club, that became the avenue to learning more quickly and having all that help. But I suppose the same is still today. Flying on your own as a solo flyer in any place is difficult. And if you can be part of a crowd that know what they're doing, it makes it so much easier.
That didn't happen to me until I was in my 50s, I guess. I guess about 2012 is when I fell in with a bunch of other aeromodelers, and I'd been a lone flyer since I was 12 years old with nobody else. So I just I was completely flying by the seat of my pants and building too.
Yeah, well, I was lucky. I went to a school where the school playing ground was used as a site for the local aero club, and the school, one of their the teachers' mess hall or staff classroom, what do you call it, kitchen, was used for our club meetings. So I was going along to club meetings while I was still at school, and I was seeing models while I was still at school, because of the local club. But eventually that area got too busy with too many developments around it. They got pushed out of what was a very convenient location in a reasonable sized city. But I suppose, as Sparky's often said, people tolerated models in their backyard back then. They didn't really mind you flying around malls and not parks, and it was very different. I suppose it's the same for drag racing, as we were talking about before. You had drag race circuits in places you'd never be able to have now. and people tolerated it. People tolerated the noise, and in a way it was just seen as keeping the kids off the street, because a lot of young people involved in drag racing, and it was a way of getting them into an organised activity. So they weren't street racing, so it was encouraged. Whereas now it's very hard to actually participate in drag racing because there's so few suitable drag strips.
Yep.
And I think it's a problem world over, whether you're in England or America or New Zealand or Australia. The availability and of a suitable strip that's not in conflict with residents and other businesses becomes a big issue.
In the southeastern United States, has got a pretty good large drag racing contingent. So just about every area is within 50 miles of a drag strip. So that's pretty convenient.
It's amazing, yeah. I had a friend who was heavily into drag racing with the job I had in the past, and he'd travel. He'd do like a 2-day drive to compete at the Auckland Mary Mary drag strip. He'd drive all over the place to compete, but he was so dedicated towards it. He'd drive all over the country when they were having a series that he wanted to be part of. He would drive there. He'd get there, and it meant taking the wife and the kids and the car and the trailer and everything for days. But I never really got into it that seriously. I remember when I was at the drag strip one time racing I can't remember what it was, probably about 83, 84. I was talking to an old guy at the drag strip, and I was just saying, well, how expensive is this compared to my model planes? And he said, stick to your model planes, it's a lot cheaper.
Oh yeah.
As a young kid.
When I got married and had a child, that was absolutely the end of my drag racing career. And I used a lot of spare parts and scraped together what tools I could. Even back then, I didn't have any fancy equipment. And if you want to get serious about it, though, it just takes a huge investment. And as aeromodeling goes, control line is probably by far the least expensive, or maybe free flight or something like that. I don't know, but nothing like, even RC gets expensive with all the servos and electronics, the radios and transmitters you have to buy.
Yeah, it's become a lot cheaper as technology's changed. I remember when I bought my first RC set, and it was like 2 weeks' wages, 2 average weeks' wages to buy a radio control set. And that would get you a pretty flash set now, not a 4-channel basic set. And it's a lot more accessible, and the gear, the simulators, all of that makes learning it a lot easier too for radio control. But for control line, I think it's a lot harder, simply because of the lack of people doing it, the lack of stores that carry parts for control line flyers. Just getting your basics, like getting your lines and bell cranks and lead outs, that basic stuff would be difficult if you're scratch building. But that's where Brodek's been great. Ordering from Brodek, like when I got the Vector kit the other week, the Vector 40 kit, it didn't take long at all to arrive on the front doorstep. It was so fast, and everything's there in the kit. Yeah. And they're very helpful in terms of telling you what you'll need to finish it.
Yeah, they are. They do have a suggested list of things you'll need. And once I got involved with a club and other people who used to fly control line and now fly RC, I just had a huge influx of giveaway engines and bits and pieces, all the bell cranks and things like that. So I just have a huge collection of used equipment, and it's come in really handy. Every engine that I've ever flown stunt with was somebody else gave me that it was used. I've never had to break one in.
Oh, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, it's really got a good support network. We've tried to help people that have joined our club, because often they've got no idea of what they need, or they'll turn up with something completely unsuitable, expecting to use it, thinking it'll all be honky-dory. Just make sure they've got a motor that'll run consistently, that's got compression, that's got a muffler, and just get them set up with a tank that will work, and things like that.
That was one of my first major challenges was getting a tank that worked. And I knew nothing about getting the right venturi on an engine. And I was flying, my first stunt plane was highly overpowered with a faulty fuel system and too big a venturi. Actually, that's probably what was causing most of the fuel problems. And I just didn't have any idea. But I gradually, as I hung around the crowd, saw what everybody was doing, and then found Stunthangar. You know, it was just a whole shift in my learning curve.
Yeah, look, stunt flyers are reputably very good at sharing their knowledge. You've got some really great people on Stunthangar every day posting answers to people that they've posted millions of times before, but they're still prepared to give the time and go through and show a newbie how to do it.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of posts, look it up, you know, search for it, because they don't want to repeat it again. Most of them love repeating it again because the message evolves and changes. If you go searching and you find old information, and people have changed the way they're doing it now. So, but with my half-ace stuff, Cox Engine Forums was a huge resource for me, and it came along before I even knew about Stunthangar or considered flying competitively. I didn't even know competitive flying existed. I sort of academically knew that somebody had contests somewhere, but I never imagined I'd be a part of that. And here I am, up to my ears in it now, and loving every minute of it.
Yeah, it's a whole new world. Once you start competing, you meet a whole lot of new people, and your own standard of flying improves dramatically because you see a need to.
Yeah, your mission in life, your goals change, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, well, it's really due to Stunthangar that I've got back into trying to fly competitively. I was just happy just flying a bit of radio, bit of control line scale, a bit of radio, and I didn't put a whole lot into stunt flying. But having got back into building some new models and trying to compete more regularly, it's made it a lot more worthwhile. And I think you can see an end game, an objective for my sons. I'm trying to say to them they need to get up to the point where they can complete a whole novice pattern. And my wife, again, it's just a matter of saying, well, if you can do a nice novice pattern, you can fly again in an event and you'll get some reward out of it. It's very satisfying when you can at least compete and show people that you're capable and you're not left out in a sense if you can't compete or you don't have the confidence. But the more you do it, the more you build your confidence.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting just seeing some of the stuff posted on Stunthangar. I saw your posts about trying to get your tank right and adding the Coleman fuel to it, trying to extend your range and trying to get that last bit out of you.
I'm gonna try the Coleman fuel and see if that works. It might save me from modifying my tank cutout, because I've got that inboard or that outboard tripler, so the tank and the engine both sit into a recess that's restricted in size.
Yeah, it's great in theory, but then you can't move your tank up and down, and you're locked in with that one particular tank.
I do have enough room for adjusting up and down, not much, but I was able to get it to run evenly with the little bit of adjustment that was there, so that works good.
You know, some setups need a lot of adjustment, like my Fox Hawk on my profile. I had to move the tank up. It's probably about 5/16. It's probably going to have to go up about half an inch, or not half an inch, about 3/8 above the center line to get a truly even run.
That's a pretty good fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Charles has had a tough problem with his Strega getting the tank. He even started having to shim the engine out some, which is not a good thing to have to do once you get more than, you know, 1/8 of an inch. You don't want to start pushing that engine too far out from the bearers, from the beam.
Yeah, you're moving your center line of your thrust out, and that all leads to it works like I was doing that with an electric model. I offset the engine so much that it started creating inwards thrust, and then I realized, oh no, I've really gone too far moving my center line out.
Not to mention it becomes a liability in a crash. It's easier to brake when that engine is shimmed off of the wooden maple beams, or too far.
Mm. Yeah, the problem with the tanks, trying to get that perfect run with my tanks, I've been erroneously putting the pickup on the vent on some of them, because my brother, who's made up the tanks, did the configuration different on some of the tanks. So I think, I've set it up correctly, and then swap it around and find I've got another minute of fuel in it. And that was a funny one I did to one of my tanks. I was running out on the 4-leaf clover, and then found the pickup was this, not what I thought it was the vent.
Yeah.
So I gave it another minute of fuel. That was quite funny. And then on another one, the one with the Fox, I sleeved down my Venturi, which gave me a much better run. And now my tank's way too big. I'm overrunning by about a minute and a half just by decreasing my Venturi size. It's conserving a lot more fuel. The motor's not revving out the same in level flight, but I've still got most of the torque that I need to fly through the maneuvers. So the smaller Venturi meant that I could go back to running on suction. I took it off muffler pressure, and it holds the setting much better, and I get a better transition between rich and lean. It leans out a little bit more in maneuvers, which helps with the smaller Venturi. It's all part of that setup. Using a lower pitch prop helped as well. But,
I like running muffler pressure because I feel like it helps keep the fuel system clean from ingesting grass seeds and that sort of thing through the Uniflow pickup when it's open air. And I learned an important lesson on here from one of the guys. I don't know if it was Terry or Al or who, but that the difference between the compressibility of air and fuel makes enough difference to where if you don't have a significant amount of air left in your tank when you've got your correct amount for the pattern, then you'll have problems with it leaning out way too soon, and never get an even run. If you launch it where it's doing a 4-2 brake, then as soon as air starts to fill the volume in there, then all of a sudden you start leaning out because the air compresses and makes it squishy, so it's not pushing as hard into the engine. And so if you run a tank that has to be all the way full, then muffler pressure is a no-go. You got to run with an open vent in order to keep it running right for the full pattern.
Yeah.
And I'd never thought of that, but it's a no-brainer when you think about it, because I knew that air compressed and the fuel did not, but I never put those two together to think about how muffler pressure would act with a full tank versus a 3/4 full tank when you launch.
Yeah, I traditionally always like to run muffler pressure for similar reasons to you. You didn't get the richening, leaning as going up and down wind, and it gave a nice consistent run. But there's some motors just seem to prefer running on suction. Others prefer muffler pressure. And depending on the setup of the tank, like my son Otto, the model that he's been enjoying flying, it's got a Magnum 25, and it's got an RC style clunk and one vent on the inboard top of the tank. And he runs at muffler pressure, and it gives a very nice consistent run. Again, because it's probably not being Uniflow, it's not affecting it the same. And the muffler pressure is going to the part of the tank probably that is going to have more of an air bubble in it, being a plastic clunk tank. It seems to work very well with that anyway.
I've quit even bothering with Uniflow on the plastic clunk tanks, and it doesn't seem to matter. I still get a pretty even run and a clean cutoff, and it does speed up about the time I'm starting to do my vertical 8s, but that's fine with me because those are the horsepower maneuvers, and if it's gonna speed up when it's time for those, then I'm good with that. I like to feel confident that the lines are going to be tight up top.
Yeah, well, that's the real issue with electric. If you don't have a governed timer on your motor, then you're getting towards those final pattern maneuvers. After you've done your horizontal 8s, your power's falling off at the worst possible time. Where if you've got a system where it's governed, you can set the amount of energy it takes out at about, say, 80%, and then it continues to take out at 80%, and then as you get towards the end of the battery, towards the end of the pattern, it's still giving what the battery can, because it was never taking everything out. And I found even with flying with the speed controller, I sort of hold the speed controller on like 3/4 power, and then when it gets to the end of the flight and I need to do those last maneuvers, I just give it full power at the end, and I can get through the whole pattern quite well. But without some sort of governing on that speed controller, well, it would be hard to fly a nice pattern.
Can the timers be set to change the power at a certain time in the flight?
Yeah, that's basically what they do. Is they're working in a governed mode, so it's never taking everything out of the battery. And then as the battery wears down, you just take more out of it as the battery starts to flatten, so that you can maintain that same power level. And those that have the additional functionality of being able to govern the RPM according to the attitude of the plane, a gyrometer or whatever they call it, then it increases the RPM as the plane's climbing. And that obviously gives you a big advantage. But using just one of the traditional timers that were just an on-off affair, counting out the number of minutes, you'd be severely disadvantaged without having a governor at least. But yeah, it comes to that same thing when you're running a glow motor. If your motor was to run rich for the last quarter of the flight, it would be terrible. Or if it goes dead lean at the last quarter of the flight, again, it's not the effect you want. But I suppose that's the problem you have when you have a motor running away. When it's got hot, it's never going to come back to a richer setting. It's just gone dead lean, and then you're struggling to get through the maneuvers, and you just sort of feel like putting the plane in because you know you're killing your motor.
Yeah.
I think that's where some of the factory setups with the large Venturi, I think there are a large number of motors that came with the Venturi. I think the Evolution ones and some of the OSs and some of the Foxes all came with a Venturi that was way too big from stock to actually do a pattern that was sort of geared more for sports flying.
Right.
And
yeah, that's what I've heard about the Evos. So.
Yeah, you're just you're battling uphill until you get those fundamentals right, getting the right prop Venturi and tank. And
I think the Evos come with a couple of extra Venturis too, but they're still all too large.
Yeah, all too big. Yeah, but that's where I was just thinking it would be great to buy a lathe and be able to tailor Venturis per engine easily, have that 0.5 millimeter smaller or bigger, and just get them exactly right. It would probably be one of the more important tuning tools available. Just a cheap hobby lathe.
Yeah,
probably $1,000 invested there would probably go a long way in being able to make up bushings and turn out Venturis and maybe modified parts. Skim your cylinder head to get the right combustion chamber shape. All those little tasks as a modeler could be done with a very small lathe. You don't need some huge industrial piece. But that's something I suppose a lot of people that are really keen on the hobby. I think at one point Sparky was saying, yeah, I've got access to a few lathes. Most of them have, when they've reached that point where they're really keen, they'll invest in the equipment to do it. I suppose it's like
there's so many aspects of the hobby that are sub-hobbies within themselves. You know, engines, engine tuning, and engine modifications, and building the airframe, and there's just so much. There's something for everybody. Yeah,
the specialist tuners are out there, the people that make props, the people that make tanks, the people that that build control systems. It's all become very specialized too. Yeah. Well, I suppose it's been a great hobby. It enables you to use so much knowledge and experience in so many different ways and share it with others. So you've been able to get out on the flying field okay now, Rusty?
I think so. The only problem now is that I'm going to have carpal tunnel surgery on my right hand the day before Huntersville. So I couldn't wait any longer. It's just getting way too bad, way too fast, and I wanted to put it off. In fact, the plan was to do it after the October contest, but well, you know what happened last winter, and so the carpal tunnel never got fixed. And now with the cane and all the pressures I'm putting on my hand, it's making it terribly, terribly numb. And I don't know for sure if it's my neck that's causing part of it. It might be a combination, but the nerve study left a little room open for the possibility that a redo on this carpal tunnel that's been done before might help some. So I'm going to go for it. And I'll have the stitches out before the triple tree contest at Joe Knoll comes 2 weeks later. So maybe I'll be able to fly then, but I don't expect I'll fly a plane at Huntersville at all now. I had thought I would, but yeah, after dropping the handle and wrecking the P40, I kind of thought, you know, all I got left is the twister, and I'm not going to take it out and wreck it just because I let go of the handle. And so, you know, I think I'm making the right choice here. And also, I'm looking forward to possibly judging. Hey, Steve, we got a new visitor.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Just me and Gerald sitting here talking about control line flying.
No one else showed up tonight, huh?
Oh, we had a few visitors.
Yeah, we had a few, but they all had to leave early. Al was here from the Middlesex Modelers, and Charles Carter was here, and Jamie couldn't come. I think he's going to a contest.
Okay.
So yeah, just a handful of us, but we got a hell of a big YouTube contingent. We had about 15 people over there just going at it at one time. We've covered everything from drag racing to different aspects of modeling, and so we've had some pretty good chat sessions. We've covered a lot of topics, and so me and Gerald are just wrapping it up. It's about 11:45, so
Yeah, I tried to get on here. Samantha and I were down.
Pull it in the driveway.
Yeah, Samantha and I were downstairs. We were silk spanning the wings of her plane, and so.
Has she gotten any flying in since Huntersville?
No, we haven't got. Last weekend we could have flown, but we had to go to Ferris, where the college she's going to go to, and that was an all-day deal. And then Sunday, her mom lost her house or something. I don't know what's all going on there, but she filled my garage up with stuff from her mom's house that she had there, and we gave away a bed and just a bunch of stuff. Just we don't got no room for it all because she had double stuff at both places. But
not too bad for her mom. Sorry to hear about that.
But I figured it was coming. But
y'all didn't get a lot of flying in that week at Huntersville either, did you?
Yeah, we got a lot of flights in. We got that, at the end we got some pretty good flights. Got the airplane trimmed. We got flights, and the plane was out of trim.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm glad. I was afraid y'all hadn't really gotten any productive time down there, but I'm glad you say you did get some.
Yeah, we got the stuff that the plane would do, like wing overs and stuff like that. We worked on, that kind of stuff, and size them, and size of some of the other maneuvers and stuff like that.
How does she compare with the adult experts as far as her abilities, her skills go?
When she's got a good airplane and stuff, she's putting in like 530s to 550s, so yeah. she can put in some really good flights. But
if she can consistently fly the same plane over and over and over and over, she probably at her age she could be better than a lot of those others, given plenty of flying time. It's kind of a handicap being in snow country.
Yeah. One thing is about it, her being young too, is like when we got there, she was having problems with the vertical 8 and the hourglass and stuff like that with the trim. Yeah. But with the wing overs and loops but it only took her a flight or two, and she still, she had her bottoms back at 5 feet. She can just pull them in so quick.
Yeah.
Each flight she starts lowering it by a foot or so, and then bang, she's there for the rest of the time. And
How'd she like the circles at Huntersville?
She did. You know, we usually fly on grass, but she it doesn't bother her to fly on pavement. We should have set the landing gear up for pavement. We should have turned them around. But,
yeah, move them back a little bit.
Yeah, flip them, on that thing. We had it set up for grass, but
yeah, I only saw her do one landing, and I don't suppose she was even really trying hard, but it was kind of a bouncy landing. But that was the only flight I got to see, was that interrupted flight when the engine crapped out.
Yeah, vibrated out.
Yep.
Lucky it didn't ruin the airplane.
Yeah, I like the Vector though. I've never flown one, but I've seen a lot of people fly them, and they seem like really good airframes.
We got a few people here now flying that quick build. That Tom. Oh shit! What's his?
Tom Morris?
No.
Tom Dixon.
Yeah, Dixon. He's got the quick build Vector and stuff profile. And them things are really, we got 2 guys with them now, and they really fly good.
What does it come? It comes with the wings already built and that sort of thing.
Yeah, the wings are all sheeted and everything. You just got to glue put the bell crank in, and like you do on a foam wing, and glue the wings together, and then they're ready to cover, and the fuse is all cut out.
Yeah.
You glue, you got to glue your rails in and stuff like that. But
is that BOM legal?
I would think it is.
Because you've only got to do the wings and the fuselage. Yeah. So if you're doing your own fuselage and the wings pre-built, then you're still okay, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you put in the bell crank. So, but yeah, they had the whole airplane glued up and everything in a day.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, it sounds a good system. I suppose you've got what's basically a good model like a Cardinal or Pathfinder, and you've simply made it quicker and easier for people to get it flying. So that sounds a very good setup. I'm sure it would help me and Rusty if we just needed to get more practice in having a model like that.
Yeah, it would. It surely would.
Yeah, it's like Dick said that. Well, when he put his together, that I think he used 15-minute epoxy or whatever to glue the wing. He glued that together. Then he got, like, I don't know if it came with a kit or not, but he had some fiberglass tape, and he put that down. And then he's went to gluing up the fuselage and all that kind of stuff. And I guess like the hardwood rails and stuff like that, he used 15-minute, and and it just, he said leave it like an hour and then sand it up, and he stuck on the sheeting on the outside of the nose and stuff like that, and slid the wing in and glued it, and I mean it was ready to cover.
I've never used 15-minute epoxy. I always used 60, but now that it's not readily available at Lowe's or the hardware store, I've gone to 30-minute, and that seems fine with me.
I've been doing, well, Sparky was always saying that he uses 5-minute.
Ain't no way I can use 5-minute. I fumble too much, and it sets up before I'm anywhere close to ready.
Well, it's like the last Vector I hinged and everything with 5-minute. But I have everything ready. I had the tail, like when I put the tail in it, the wing in it, everything marked perfect, set there, and lines and stuff like that, and where I was going to measure from, and I put it on there and bang, and it's like once it starts to set a little bit, everything holds better.
Yeah. And
you're sitting there, like I was always use 30-minute, but it would move, and you have to wait till it almost set anyway to get it right.
Yeah.
So the 5-minute does that. You get it, it holds, everything's perfect. Leave it, I would set, when I put the wing in, I'd set weight on there on the fuse, had the one side done, put the tail in, did it the same way. But you just have to be ready to where
You have to be organized.
right. But the other thing I did too is like when I put the tail in on that, I took a big T-pin and stuck it in there, measured it all out, and then put another T-pin in it. So I kind of had 2 holes down through there. So when I glued it up, I was real careful and ran the T-pins and everything back down in the same holes. So it was just minuscule amount I had to move. You know, I could move it 30-second or whatever it took, and everything was lined up and held there for a couple minutes, and yeah, you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
It really, I don't know, to me it's like the same amount of frantic time. If you use 5 minute or if you use 30 minute, it's that last little bit before it kicks off.
Yeah, I use a lot of 5 minute, but I think 30 minute too. But
I use
sometimes
5 minutes for small stuff, and that's about all. I
Yeah,
used 5 minutes to glue the handle back on my microwave oven the other night.
it worked.
Yeah, because I could hand clamp it. Yeah, I pulled it out, got in there, and put glue on the parts of the bracket that had broken, and slammed it shut, and just held it for 3 or 4 minutes and let go, and it's been fine ever since.
That's good. Excellent.
I glued the mirror back on my truck with 5 minute. Well, not the bottom one. It was a deal to where when I was working on my truck, I backed out of my garage, and I was not thinking, and the mirrors are on an angle. The bottom is further out than the top. Well, I look, okay, I got enough room to get out. All of a sudden, I hear a tink, and it barely hit the wood. And when it did, it broke a piece out of the bottom, and it broke the swivel part of the mirror. So I put the bottom all back in. Then I had Samantha take and hold it for me and say, okay, that's where I want it. We put some tape on there, and I kind of seen where it was at. So then I got 5 minute and went in where that bracket, where that swivel thing was at, and sanded it all up, roughed it up with 80 grit, and smeared some 5 minute there, and put it back to about where I thought it was going to be. And then it started setting, and then it was the rush time, and I took the tape off and stuff, jumped back in the truck, got out, made one more thing, got back and said, that's good. It's set. And it came all the way to Huntersville that way. And it's been that way ever since. So it's just that the part, like when you're running a trailer or whatever, the low ones where I don't know what they're, convex mirrors. So you can see wide angle or whatever.
Convex.
Yeah. On the bottom part of that mirror. So
yeah, that's convex. That's right.
yeah, so they work for me. So nobody else will ever be able to adjust it, but that's okay. Samantha drives it once in a while, but she doesn't ever pull no trailers or anything with it. So
most people don't know how the hell to adjust their mirrors anyway.
no, I know it.
They look at the paint on the side of their car instead of the lane next to them.
Some things that doesn't help you with. I was driving the tractor, a big John Deere tractor with a mower on the back, and I thought, oh, I'm all fine. I've got plenty of room with this gate, and I clipped the gate with the huge mulching mower I had, and it just exploded into bits, this gate, and it was like toothpicks at the end of it. And I just thought, it didn't even slow down. I had no idea that I was going to hit it. When I hit it, it was just this explosion of wood everywhere. And I just got the boys to come and pick up all the bits.
Funny, but I did the same thing to my mailbox. I brought the big stake bed in and had to pull in a what the hell? I call it a sky track, but that's a brand name. But it hinges in the middle and stuff, and you can lift pallets with it and everything else. It's 4-wheel drive, and and I had to take it. They wanted me to take it to a job site, and I still got my CDL. So I drive home and bring it home and park it in the yard and stuff. The next morning, I'm getting up to head north, and it's dark and everything. And I go start backing up, and I'm looking, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I got enough room with that fender and stuff to miss my mailbox. But I forgot that the license plate was on a big old hard piece of angle iron. Okay. And I caught that on that mailbox, and it was fairly cold outside. It just exploded that plastic. My mailbox flopped. I'm like, oh man. At least I didn't break the post it sat on, but it just exploded my mailbox. And I got home, I glued it back together with 15-minute epoxy, and got to get me another one. But
it happens so easily, though, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. When you got a big, well, that stake bed. I don't know how big a diesel's in it. I think 300 horsepower and stuff like that. And the thing was at, I don't know, I think it was at 65,000 pounds or whatever. And I was just at an idle backing it out. But that diesel engine, it didn't even realize that mailbox was
stopping it or in the way. No.
It just stuff blew up. I mean, it didn't even. I heard it, and I seen in the mirror. Then I seen my mailbox go flying down on the ground, and I'm like, oh crap! But I never even felt it in the truck. It didn't. It's not like hitting something with your car or whatever.
Well, it goes to show how brittle it is.
Yeah, it's just the because it was cold, the plastic was brittle. But yeah, when you've got heavy equipment of any sort and smaller vehicles or people, it just does not yield. There's no slowing down, I should say. It's like when you see these pictures of a quarry and then they hit the foreman's little pickup truck or something, and it just flattens it like a little bug with these big quarry dump trucks. And you realize
those things are huge. Yeah.
Well, the guy that taught me how to drive, that I first drove with and stuff, back when I learned, we all had cab overs. So, you set way forward and you're actually, kind of setting in front of the front wheels.
Yeah. Yeah, that must be an odd perspective. I've never driven one like that.
It's a lot nicer, tight areas. You can maneuver them a lot better because you don't got that engine and everything sticking way out in front of you. But I didn't go with him one time. I forget I had to do something else. So, and then he gets back and I was talking to him. He goes, and I think he was in Savannah, Georgia, or we were down south. He was down there because we picked up paper and stuff and brought it back when we dropped off these cheese curls. He goes, yeah, I was at a light. He goes, and I see that the light was gonna turn green because the other one was turning yellow. So he lets off the clutch, and starts the thing rolling, and all of a sudden he said the whole truck starts shuddering, and he goes like, oh damn, I got a flat steer tire. So he stops and gets out. When he walks around to the front of the truck, here's a little car.
Oh shit.
She tried to, because you always leave space in between you and the car in front because you can't see the other car. Well, she tried to squeeze in there and went in there sideways, and luckily the damn tire went into the back seat and not the driver's seat, or she'd have been, because he said he put the whole front tire in the back seat of her car.
My gosh.
And she was all pinned in. They got her out on the other side, and they gave her a ticket. You ain't supposed to. He goes, I can't see down there from where I'm at. But yeah, she was in 2 lanes at one time.
Glad she didn't get squashed.
Yeah.
Very lucky. Yeah.
But yeah, he said it went, he said I could have driven right over it and kept right on going if I hadn't thought, I didn't want to ruin the tire if it was flat.
Yeah. It just shows you got to be careful with a big vehicle. Any slight hiccup like that, it could be a lot more than if you were riding a small vehicle where you feel everything. Yeah, it just goes to show.
Yeah, they had a big, I think it was like a 425 horse Mack engine in that one. It was a cab over Mack, and it had Mack engine in it. And I think it just had monster power. 425 horse. You're thinking a pickup truck, they all got around 400 horsepower and stuff like that. But it ain't like 425 horse in a.
It's a diesel horsepower, which is all torque. It's a massive torque, yeah. Because it's like those airplane engines where they're massive engines. They're like an Cessna, or even a light aircraft. The engine horsepower looks small, but when you look at the physical size of the engine and its displacement, it would have serious torque to get that prop spinning and doing it at low RPM.
Yeah.
Because often ones like a Tiger Moth, or I'm just thinking of local aircraft, or a de Havilland Rapide, they had a motor that wasn't terribly powerful, 100 or 150 horsepower, but they were big engines, so they're 6-7 liter engines, and doing those RPM doing those horsepower numbers at low RPM like a tractor.
But back when I was flying real airplanes, the Cessnas and stuff like that, we had some guys that were doing experimentals, and they had like Rotax, they had like gear drives in them or whatever, and the motors are just a screaming, and that propeller would, because of the gear reduction. Yeah. But I'm like, man, that's just something else to go wrong. You got a gear that, breaks or something happens, or, you got a leak and all your gear lube leaks out while you're flying or something. And
that makes sense. Mind you, we tried doing that with aerobatics. Well, aeromodeling in general used the 60 displacement, meant they had the geared motors for a long time until they were allowed a larger displacement. So you had OS 60 FSR or whatever swinging a 2.3 to 1 reduction or something, and swinging the big 16, 18-inch props, but the motors mustn't have lasted too long with the revs they would have been doing. They must have really been screaming like a ducted fan engine.
Yeah. Yeah, I just soon have a good old Lycoming engine or something like that. But a lot of these guys fly with them Rotax, and
that's what Daryl, or Hogs and Plains buddy up in Canada, flies. Yeah, I've watched him on YouTube working on Rotax engines.
Well, Rotax now is making regular airplane engines and stuff. But back in the day when I did it in the 80s, I mean, these were like, we called them snowmobile motors. Now they were 2 cycles and stuff, and they just nail them, and man, them things would make all kinds of noise, but it flew, it was a little single-seater airplane, and experimental stuff or whatever, but I don't know.
Well, did they have much shorter maintenance intervals? I presume it would have to be pulled apart after a couple of 100 hours or something. What the revs would be doing.
Yeah, you'd think so.
I think let's call it a night. It's after 12 now. So thanks for coming in to help us close it out, Steve.
Yeah, sorry we didn't get in early. We thought we were going to get done, but we got to get that airplane done. So
yeah.
Well, it's good to hear you've got it up to covering now anyway. It sounds good.
Yeah, maybe Monday night I can show you some of it in primer. So
yeah,
that's great.
All right.
We got a few pieces.
Well, I hope you guys have a good weekend. And
you too.
I think we're supposed to have nice weather here, so I'm hoping to get out to the shop a little bit. It's time for me to change modes now. I got to clean off the shop table and get some new sheetrock and level it up to build a wing, and probably go ahead and buy my paints so I can have that fuselage painted before I put the wing in. And anyway, so y'all have a good weekend, and thanks for coming, and all of you YouTube people that came, thanks a lot, man. Y'all were a big, great crowd tonight, so we appreciate it. And until Monday, I hope everybody has a good weekend and fair winds, tight lines, and we'll see y'all later.
See you, Rusty. See you, Gerald. See you, Otto.
Good night.
Good. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Rusty.